back. You're listening to the Impaired Files with the Nerdy Chicano, aka Raul Alejandro Mendoza, here. And we are back to an interview. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do the interview today, but it looks like we've got ourselves our guest here. So, welcome to the 8th episode of the Impaired Files, and it's been really fun so far. I just want to give you all a shout out for showing some love to the past guests. Thank you so much for being the awesome people that you are. And today we have ourselves someone you haven't heard in a long time on the Nerdcore podcast, but you're going to remember her because she's a famous entity around here because she was part of an episode that almost didn't happen because I almost deleted the whole thing because I was being stupid and I deleted it on accident. So today with me I have Michelle Scarpa-Turk from Megawave.
Hi.
Long pause in there. All right. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good, too. Pretty good. Yeah, you're going to be like, okay, Raul is, we last talked on episode 20 of the Nerdcore, so it's been a while. We're at 225 now. 227. So it's been a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. But you're going to be like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, 228.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, and I made this new show where I get to interview people that I really want to talk to in my life. I've talked to, this what's it called, artists, as in like graphic artists who was on the last episode, Alejandra Almeida. I've talked to filmmaking students, and I've also talked to a Twitch streamer, but I needed to bring somebody from the music realm. And I said, if I don't have Michelle in here, what's the point of this fucking show?
You're just trying to inflate my ego. It's not going to work.
No. Hey, I appreciate you a lot, and I needed to talk to you. I said, first of all, we were going to have you for the Babel review, and then things didn't work out that day. And now we have you in here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you're going to probably be really, really surprised at how, at how improved I am with my speaking methods, because you were hearing me speak in episode 20, and now I've got this wonderful broadcast voice.
It sounds great. You're doing great. You're killing it.
Wow, you're killing it too.
I'm really happy to be talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
No more me being kidding around about my ego. Just kidding.
I love having you on. I love every time our paths cross together. We don't really keep in touch a lot, but whenever our paths cross again, it's always so much fun. And you got to come to Texas. I need to see a show. Even though I'm not into this whole style of music anymore, but for you guys, I make that exception.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry.
I really want to go to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go everywhere.
Yeah.
I have plotted out so many tours that have just fallen apart.
Yeah.
Over and over, just because lineup problems.
Yeah, but hey,
so it's fine.
Si se puede. You got to keep putting in that work, and it's gonna come to you. So
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully Texas is in the future, and I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? Damn it. Yeah. Well, from the rest of the band, we've had other people. Michael. We've had Michael on the Game Record because he loves the video games, and we've had him on. But, it's time that we talk to you. And as always, I have the icebreaker question. This is the one that I start with. I didn't give you any homework to do, like to listen to any of the past episodes, so that way you can get a feel what this show is. But hopefully I don't bore you to death. But I do a disclaimer. If I ever reach territory that I shouldn't be talking about, like, if there's things that I'm not allowed to ask you about, like new music or stuff like that, just go ahead and tell me, Raul, I can't talk about that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So the what's it called? The icebreaker question we have in here. So the first guest we had was Nikki Silanucci, Twitch streamer. Asked her what her favorite video game was, and when I had my friend Daniela in here, I asked her what her favorite movie was since she's a film student. So now, since you're a musician, I'm going to ask you, who's your favorite artist, and what's what do you like about them so much?
Oh man, that's really hard. I feel like there's some artists that I've gone to see them live so many times,
Mm-hmm.
and they're definitely like up there. Some of my favorites, like Taking Back Sunday, Coheed and Cambria.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them multiple times, but at the moment, I'm trying to think of like who's my most recent favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Group Love.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
They're also their story is actually fucking wild. They
Mm-hmm.
met at they met in Greece, but they're from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the members are from New York City, Brooklyn, and New York City. They live in Brooklyn. They're from New York City, and then two of the other members are from LA, and one of the original members was from England, and they all met at this like artist residency in Greece. Just all happened to be there at the same time. But the member from England's not there anymore, but the drummer of the band, his father is in Yes, the prog band. And he's actually a really accomplished producer. He's worked with trying to think. He's worked with so many artists. Like I can't even but he goes by Captain Cuts. And there's the music that they make for Group Love is it's rock and roll. It has this like punk feeling to it, but it's also has like a lot of like synth and dance and kind of like 80s vibes going on. It's really cool. I personally really like it. They've been kind of creeping up as one of my favorites over the past few years. I'm actually going to see them this weekend, so I think that's probably why they're like at the front of my minds. But
yeah, that's awesome. I don't know who that is, but then again, like I said, I've fallen out of a lot of music lately. I only listen to basically movie scores and basically music in Spanish. So that's basically it. So like if you would have told me like I don't know what my favorite is Bad Bunny, I'd be like, oh shit, girl, like yeah, me too, Bad Bunny and So that's the stuff I know.
Bad Bunny.
Huh?
I listen to a lot of Lizzo too.
Oh yeah.
I think she's awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely, especially like in the morning when I'm trying to like get into a good state of mind, I like to listen to Lizzo.
Yeah. Well, what's it called, Michelle? You are from Megawave, and you mind telling us a little bit about your band?
Sure. So we started 4 years ago, right on like the heels of my old band breaking up. So 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. 2014. So yeah, 5 years ago this summer.
Yeah.
First we just started, it was just me and Andrew, and we were just writing songs, on the acoustic guitar. And then finally we brought in Michael, who was in my old band, on drums. And it's kind of been a rotating cast of people since then. We had Eric on bass for a long time. My friend Angelea has been filling on bass for a while now. My friend Ryan was playing keyboards for us and also horns at one point in time. And always my boyfriend Mike has been filling in between bass, and now he's permanently a member on guitar. So I'm really excited about that because now it's he's permanently in the band after Andrew left last July. So
yeah.
So that's kind of where we started, and now it's just Mike, and me.
Yeah, that's good either way. However you can create the content that you want to put out, that's it's how it should be. Mike, aka the Karate Kid, is the Karate Kid. I remember the nickname I gave him, the Karate Kid. He's the best around.
Yeah. He hasn't done karate in so many years, but it's just really funny to see him like do like 4 or 5 moves. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, and the whole time that I've been dating him, he hasn't been going to karate, so I was kind of like surprised.
Yeah, I remember when you told me you did karate, I was like, you got the Karate Kid as your boyfriend. Damn. Yeah,
it's so funny because he would not identify with that at all.
Yeah, I know, but I love this thing where I like to constantly ride something out so much. So like if I say something, I'm just gonna constantly be doing it. So until it doesn't get old at all. Yeah, that's why I'm always making fun of Brad's age. You know, it was something that happened like in the first 4 episodes, so I have to keep doing it. Um, but I'm really happy to be talking to you. You're somebody who I look up to a lot. Sadly, our paths have never crossed in person, but
Not yet.
not yet exactly.
Hopefully, you
not
come
yet.
to New York.
Well,
That's awesome.
I don't even
Come
know
to
if
New
I
York.
can respond to that. I don't know where my career will take me, so I can't say I'm never going.
Either way, I want to go to Texas, so
Yeah, we'll see how much I'll be here.
would love to just travel anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
especially like I'd like to go to Mexico.
Oh,
I'd like to just go down south, like through
yeah.
Texas into Mexico. Not so much
Mm-hmm.
like other parts of the South, but
I
maybe like Nashville.
Yeah, I want to say that it's been last weekend. I crossed into Mexico for the first time in 7 years, 8 years. I don't remember too well. I was still like in middle school, I think, when I crossed into Mexico. So I want to say nine actually, but it's been a long time since I've
Wow.
crossed into Mexico, and I crossed in last weekend, and it was a feeling like no other. I'm a very, you know me, I'm very outspoken. I'm self-proclaimed Latino as fuck. That's who I am. I take so
Yeah.
much pride in the person I am. I take so much pride in my culture and everything. So when I stepped back in there, I was like, God, this feels great. I was like, this is, sadly, when you go back into Mexico, you're reminded that the people drive horribly over there. So, I was like, oh crap.
Oh,
But I was back and I said, oh man, I feel great.
are there like not a lot of traffic laws, or just like they're not really enforced, right?
No, nobody cares. They just drive the way they can drive, and it sucks. But I went back and I was like, oh man, God, this feels great. I ate some gorditas and I ate some tacos, and we went to the supermarket from my childhood. I drank some agua de horchata, and God, man, it was
Aw.
it felt really close to my heart, and I was like, part of me was like, wow, I'm glad that I kind of shut off that part of my brain that was like, oh, Raul, remember what the media keeps saying about Mexico and stuff like this, and I was like, you know what, Raul, just go back home,
Yeah.
go back, this is where where your family was from and everything. So I was like, oh man, it was really nice to go back, and I can't wait to go back in 2 more weeks. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, you did go for 9 years and then you're going back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well,
That's
I
crazy.
mean, it's right here. Remember, I'm sorry, you might not remember where I live.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
You're
right.
very close from what I've seen on the map.
10, 15 minutes.
You're like what, like 40,
No, 10, 15
10,
minutes.
15 minutes? I thought you were at least like half an hour. That's crazy.
No, where I used to go to school, the bridge was right
That's
there.
amazing.
Yeah, where I used to go to school for my second college,
Wow.
the bridge is right there. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
That's
I know.
amazing.
Yeah, but man, I know that you would love Mexico. At least the parts that that you can travel to that are safe, because there are parts that are still unstable and it's hard to pass through there, because it would be pretty dangerous to go through some of those parts. But the parts that are safe, like,
Yeah.
you would love it. I know for a fact you would love it, and you would lose yourself in that culture there, because it is great. And everybody's so nice. Like, random people just saying hi to you for no reason, just because that's the way we're brought up. Like, we see somebody on the side of the street, and we
Yeah.
make eye contact with them. We say, well, hey, how are you? And or when you're passing by businesses, they're like, come in, come and eat. Don't don't
Yeah.
worry, you can spare your time. Come in, come and eat. Yeah. So it's
The
amazing.
opposite of New York.
Yeah, it's the
New York
opposite.
is like,
Mhm.
especially in New York City, like people are just so aggressive. No one looks at each other. No one
Yeah.
talks to each other. Like it's insane that we all, like, there's so many people here. And
Yeah.
people walk past each other and ignore each other all the time and just
Yeah.
have no sense of community at
Yeah.
all.
You're from
Crazy.
over there, right? You're from New York. Yeah.
I'm from New York. I'm from about 40 minutes away from New York City.
Mhm.
I live in the suburbs.
Mhm.
But yeah, where I am is kind of even like closer to out of the suburbs, like,
Mhm.
but like in New York City,
Mhm.
it's crazy. People
Yeah.
move so fast. No one looks where they're going. Like, I've, and I have fibromyalgia, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of trouble with mobility,
Mm-hmm.
and like I've had people like be so nasty to me about not
Yeah.
moving fast enough or whatever, and I'm just like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my god, I'm so happy I don't live here because I could
Yeah.
not do this every single day of
Yeah.
my life.
God, yeah, I would feel you there because I am visually impaired, so I use a cane to get by,
Yeah,
and I could just imagine how
so you know
things.
how it is.
Yep, yep. When I don't use the cane, sometimes people like just they don't move. Oh, but when I have the cane, everybody moves now. Yeah, everybody moves
Yeah.
moves out. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks, but um, I was gonna say that fast-paced lifestyle, that kind of influenced the way you live at over there. It's you kind of get used to the way that you are, there at your where you live right now. I mean, in my life over here, I've always been used to the Latino culture is very different. Like we get things done when they need to get done. So I'm not used to a fast-paced lifestyle like that. But how was that with your life? Having like a fast-paced lifestyle, I guess.
I feel like I have to remind myself to slow down
Mm-hmm.
a lot because
Mm-hmm.
I will overdo it all the time.
Yeah.
Especially like in the past, there have been like when you're moving so fast and like you're just doing so much and you don't even like pay attention. You don't eat for hours or
Mm-hmm.
like crazy things. I'm sure that happens to everybody, but like
Yeah.
um yeah.
Well, in a way, I
I'm not
guess
the
you
biggest
just.
fan of New
Mm-hmm.
York. Like there's a part of me that's like, I love there's certain things about New York that I love, and then there's other things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. This is like
Mm-hmm.
and it does make you hard. It makes you angry. I think
Well, I mean,
that's just my
in a
opinion.
way, it's the only home we know at the moment, right? We don't know until we like
Yeah,
get out of that bubble. Like, when I left this area, I didn't know about a lot of things, and I experienced a bunch of things that I wasn't accustomed to. So, I mean, at least you've been able to experience like getting out because I know you told me you spent a semester, I believe, in South America or Central America.
yeah, El Salvador. I've
Salvador, yeah.
spent
Mm-hmm.
about 3 weeks at a time on
Mm-hmm.
two separate occasions in El Salvador.
Yeah. So that
Yeah,
must have been very different getting accustomed to the culture over there.
it is very different. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's so many things that are you could see. I'm sure you probably see it in Mexico too, where there's things that are just like very like adopted from the
Mm-hmm.
United States culture,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like some of it doesn't always feel so organic
Yeah.
there. Like you could tell it's just like my friends in El Salvador, um, they a lot of them learned English from
Mm-hmm.
my group of friends here, and it's really funny to hear them talk because when they talk they sound like us Long Islanders, and it's just like it's like talking to Teresa Caputo or like
Mm-hmm.
I can't even think of like other like awful New York accents like
Yeah.
the nanny Fran Drescher. It's just like,
Oh,
oh,
Mr. Sheffield.
they're just emulating what we sound like, and I feel so
Yeah.
bad, but that's how they learned English.
Yeah. People are
But
always people are always surprised at how easily I can mask my accent from over here. Yeah, because at 1 second they'll be like, "Oh man, Raul, you speak really fast," or like sometimes like some things will slip out, and I'm like, "Oh crap, there goes my accent." And I was like, they're like, "Really, you have an accent?" I'm like, "I'm from the valley. I'm from over here, from fucking South Texas. Like the way we talk over here is very different from over here, like in Houston and like all that." So I'm like, "Crap!" Like my and also I learned English as English was my second language, so sometimes if you'll hear me on the
yeah,
podcast, I'll be like not know how to pronounce certain words. I'm like, well, that's because English is my second language.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But
sorry.
nah,
What
don't worry
is
about
going
it.
on?
No,
Someone's trying to call me at the same time.
don't worry.
um, yeah, I I haven't practiced Spanish in such a long time, just
Mm-hmm.
because like I don't really have where I live. There are a lot of people who speak Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like a lot of them don't. You look at me, you see, like I'm white as paper. Like no one's gonna ever guess that I speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I don't really have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
but I remember like when I really started to master, speaking Spanish almost fluently, and like starting to like lose the gap between like, I feel like, let's say like you said, like I heard you talking to your mom before, my brain still had that gap of me translating it into English in my brain.
Yeah.
Whereas I remember like I had finally gotten to this point of practicing speaking enough Spanish and reading enough Spanish and listening to it so much that I just understood. Like I didn't have to do that whole like turn the switch on and off like I do now, or like I did when I was still like, beginning to learn. I mean, I found out when people that I meet that speak like 4 or 5 languages, I'm just like, damn. Like they just understand. Like they don't have those little switches going on and off. How the hell do they do it?
Yeah. And people are always like, Raul, what language do you think in? I'm like, I'm thinking in Spanish when I'm talking English. Like, like my mind is always on Spanish. It's like, that's the language I grew up with. That's the one I was learned first. That's the one I talk at the house. Like you'd be really surprised at how much English I talk in this house. Like it's very, very minimal. But, I didn't know you talked Spanish until I heard that song. And you were singing in Spanish. I was like, oh, shit. And I'm like...
Oh, in Strict Ladies Joel, was it?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Andrew wrote the song with me, and he also is fluent in Spanish. But he studied in Spain. So his Spanish is totally different than mine. But for some reason, we're always like able... Like he was the only person that I was able to kind of be like, oh yeah, that's right, you also speak Spanish, let's write a few lines of what what we're thinking. And just it happened to come across easier than I feel like it had more emotion to it than saying those things in English.
Oh yeah, of course. And especially because Spanish is such a romantic language, and it's a love language, so anything you say in that language.
It's so much better to sing in too. Singing in Spanish, singing in Italian, it's just both those languages are just so much prettier to sing in than English. Like English is just ugly.
Yeah,
that's just how, like it's. I feel like it's so much harder to sing in English.
Yeah, it'd be really different. Like when when like what's it called? I hear like I have friends who call their significant others baby or like baby. But in us, like over here in this house, my dad calls my mom mi amor. Like that sounds prettier than hey baby, how you doing? Hey baby. I'm like, come on, like it just things sound better in Spanish, 100%. And but I was so surprised. I said, wow, this girl can sing in Spanish. I was like, that's so cool. So,
I mean, honestly, if I could write a whole album in Spanish. Because it's easier to sing, I would do it in a heartbeat. Like it's such an easier language, I think, to honestly like hitting the right notes, hitting the vibrato a certain way, like just the like technique of singing is just easier.
Oh, I can believe it.
In English it's always like like I don't know, it's just not.
All right.
And then on top of that, all the like words that have like several vowels in them, and like trying to figure that out, like now is like technically it's like ow, like it's like it's too. I don't know, like it's just there's something about it that's like just yucky. I don't know. There's just so many words.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to shit on
trying to simplify them.
Yeah, I don't want to shit on the whole language over here, but how do you approach that? How do you approach that? Like with your writing process and all that? Because I don't know a lick about the music realm. I know about what I do over here when I talk about movies because that's what I'm studying, and I know when it comes to writing screenplays, but I don't know about writing lyrics and all that. And I want to get to know a little bit about that. Tell me, how do you approach that when you're writing your music? You're like, okay, I really want to incorporate Spanish in here, but damn, I think I should probably do it in English.
Well, I almost always write in English for the most part, except for like maybe like 4 or 5 songs here and there. And like if I do end up, putting a line or two of Spanish, it's always like a line or two mostly. But yeah, I'm trying to think when we were writing Strict Ladies Joel. I don't remember what we were talking about. I know the line in Spanish is about lying.
Mm.
And it just sounded cooler. It sounds weird, and it sounded weird in English. I was like, this doesn't really sound that good. Let's switch it out.
Yeah.
But also I kind of feel like I don't know like any other bands that have white people that do that, so I can't say like,
Mm-hmm.
but then thinking like, who my influences are, like growing up where I live, a lot of people speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though I don't have anybody to talk to, where I was raised,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people in my high school spoke Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't study Spanish in high school. I didn't study until I was in college. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you're constantly surrounded, I think like it's kind of just that ends up being your influence too. Like a lot of my friends are around here, at least. I have a lot of friends that are like Colombian that I spend time with, and their families speak Spanish. So it's like, your extended friends' families, you kind of just pick up on things really quickly, I think.
Well, you merely start to adopt. I'm sorry. You start to adopt like the things you're kind of being, shown. Like you're adopting the language. You're adopting like little things like the culture, and you're not kind of making it your own, but you're kind of like participating in it. Because there's a difference between participating in the culture, and there's also difference between appropriation, stealing the culture, and it's cool though. Like you're especially living over there, you're being exposed to various different cultures, and you're like, wow. And over here where I live, I was like, I've only known about the Latino culture for years, So when I had my first experience with knowing white people, knowing all these other different people, it's like, oh crap, this is pretty cool. This is what it probably feels like to live in one of these big cities. And I was like,
where I was raised is like super diverse.
Oh yeah.
Like I was in a lot of classes. A lot of my neighborhood where I live now. I live in Amityville. A lot of my neighbors are African American. A lot of my coworkers are Salvadoran American. Some of my best friends are Colombian. So it's kind of like, everybody comes here to Long Island. It feels like, it's just like everybody goes to Queens, New York. Everyone goes to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But those parts are kind of becoming a little more gentrified to live in.
Yeah.
So
sadly.
people are coming out here, I guess. But since I've been living here my whole life, it's always been just everybody lives here. Like I have friends from all over. So some of my best friends when I was in high school, their parents are first generation from China. Like,
damn. That's cool.
Why are you barking at me?
Like, we have an appearance by Cindy. Do we have an appearance by Cindy?
She's literally sitting out the door staring at me.
Yeah.
She was barking. I had to close the door, or else she would just sit here and bark inside this room.
At least she's not like mine over here, where he'll just start crying and back at the door, start scratching the door and crying and crying and crying. But God, I love that dog.
Yeah, she wasn't scratching. She does like a little. Like,
oh man, dogs are the best. They're the best.
She's very crazy, sassy little dog.
Yeah, and it's great that you had so much of that diversity just growing up, and it's really interesting, and it kind of reflects in the music you also play, because you have a lot of influences from different genres, and I guess you wanted to implement that diversity you saw in your real life in diversity in music when you were bringing your influences, and you're like, wow, like I hear so many different genres in your music. I hear a little bit of that 80s pop, I hear a little bit of that punk feel as well, and I also I get a little bit of that like what's it called, synth as well, kind of like electronica-ish, and you have like all these different things, and it makes for really, really interesting music, and it's the reason why I kind of keep going back to you guys always. I'm like, because a lot of the music and like what people would expect you guys to play is always so like kind of like generic. Like there's a certain style that's being played and it's constantly being put out.
Yeah.
So it's like you're like, I kind of don't want to listen to the same thing over and over again. But with you guys playing like you guys are playing a different tone, a different, what's it called, attempt at it, and I really, really do appreciate that.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah,
we definitely try.
yeah. And you play guitar. And that's very
Yes. My
that's
guitar's been
mm-hmm.
broken for such a long
Oh.
time. I want to bring it back so badly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so on a guitar, the sound input is usually on the front, but on my guitar, it's on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So one day it like fell off, it slid, the bottom hit the floor
Mm-hmm.
where the wire was plugged in, and the wire hit the ground and cracked the sound input.
Mm-hmm.
And like to get that replaced on a guitar is like $15-20. To get it replaced on my keyboard is like $200.
Ooh. Oh
So
no.
I keep putting off getting it fixed. So we had my friend Ryan was playing keyboard for us for a really long time on a regular upright keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping to eventually purchase a new guitar or get the one that I have fixed.
Mm-hmm. Those are always scary things when you want to get your equipment when your equipment breaks down. You know,
Yeah.
I am scared for the day that
I
my
could I could
camera
only
breaks.
imagine on cameras how expensive that must be to fix.
Knock
I
on wood,
couldn't.
girl. Knock on wood. My camera is not insured. My camera is not insured. I am very scared because that thing breaks.
Yeah.
That's the end of my career until I can get another camera. And if you think I can,
Yeah.
yeah, you think I can poop out $848 again? Hell no.
Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the same. Like if I want to get a new guitar, it's gonna cost
Mm-hmm.
probably around the same amount. My guitar that I had before, it's not made out of wood. It's made out of plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So and also it was being discontinued. So
Oh.
I was able to get it. I got it on a Black Friday special for
Yeah.
like $300, which is
Yeah.
a total steal for an instrument. And
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
to spend $200 to fix it. It's kind of like, do I want to invest that into like a higher end model? Maybe. I don't know.
I want you to work
Especially
my ass
one
off
that's made
again.
out of wood.
Oh no. Yeah. Oh, it's such a big hassle. I can only imagine. And but
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into your music, and I'm always fascinated with artists themselves and how much goes into it. And one thing about you that really, well, your band, that really influences me, and especially you, because you're the one I know the most, and you're the one who I've been able to sit back and observe more. A lot of the things that you talk about in your music are very interesting things. My favorite song from you guys, "I Won't Die," is one that I really like. It talks a lot about that, that grit attitude about not giving up and stuff like that. But one of your recent songs, I can't remember the name of it, but it's kind of like it's a very very nice song. I believe it was I can't remember it, but I remember the video. You're wearing sunglasses and everybody's dancing to it.
Oh,
And,
for
yeah.
Party Favors.
Yes, it's a song about like sexual
Party
liberation and
Favors.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool, and
Yeah.
yeah, I just got done doing another interview where we talk about the idea of how sexuality in film is so taboo, and now it reminded me. I'm like, oh, I'm about to do an interview.
Especially,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
especially in the U.S. Like,
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing
but
I always say.
I'm totally with you with what you're saying. Another person that I listen to musically a lot, which I mean, maybe I don't know if it's embarrassing or not, but I'm a huge Ariana Grande fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like her lyrics are very like liberated, but they're also kind of cheeky at the same time. And I kind of pull off that, like, because I feel like it's taboo to talk about sex
Yeah.
at all. And especially like as a woman, it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, you're not supposed to talk about that. And it's like, men can write all these songs about this and that.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't I write about this? Like,
No, I agree. I agree 100%. It shouldn't be taboo. When I was talking to Alex about, the whole film thing, I was like, it is ridiculous that, that we can let, it's somehow okay to watch like a bloody, gruesome gunfight on screen, but an intimate, beautifully shot scene of sex is like taboo, in this country especially. But in music, it's even more. It's like, a guy can write a song talking about all the girls he's probably slept with and it'll be okay. But one girl writes a
Yeah.
song about, sexual experience, and it's like, oh shit, look, you shouldn't be listening to this. Like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And when I listened to your song, I was like, oh man, I'm loving this, and I know that Michelle probably wrote this one. I was like, I'm so into this. Like, this is so cool. Plus, the whole vibe of the song, and you don't
Yeah.
stray away from talking about these subjects, and I really, really like that about you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like when Eric first like came up with the riff for the song.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy, what do you want? Come in. Um, when Eric first came up with like the bass line for the song, and
Mm-hmm.
I heard it, it reminded me of like one of those like bass grooves that make you think of porn, like like boom, chicka, wah, wah, that kind of stuff. And I was like, how do I write a song about this? And then it happened to be around the same time as Mike's birthday that I was trying to come up with lyrics for the song, and I was like, what if I wrote the song about birthday sex? Like, would
Yeah.
that be really weird? Or
Hey, Jeremiah
like,
did
it's
it.
like everybody does it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, not
Yeah.
everybody, but almost everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I always try to write my lyrics like without like he or she pronouns, so that whoever's listening to it can just like just relate. Like, Cindy, stop it! You're not. No, you just went outside. No,
This is gonna be
no,
one to remember.
get
This
out.
this episode will be one to remember
Get
because of
out.
Cindy. But I love that. I love that. You
She's
like
just being
you
very
have
rude.
this don't give a fuck attitude. Like, I'll write about what I want, and I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah,
Especially as a woman in this country, it must be very, very different for you being like able to write
oh my
these
god.
things. It's the same way.
What you're saying about film,
Mm-hmm.
like how different it is. Like like I've watched so many Mexican films. Like I love like
Mm-hmm.
Water for Chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Like sex isn't like as taboo as it is in American
No.
films. Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people here put it on this like crazy pedestal, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why like teen pregnancy is a thing, like, because it's not.
We're not
No one
open.
knows how to treat it like it's normal.
We're
No
not
one
open
talks
about
about it.
it.
It's
Yeah.
like why would abortion be an issue if like we were just talking about stuff in general.
Exactly.
Like it's like you think about all the people that make the laws. Do they even understand how periods work? Like it's like I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think they do.
No, and
It's
it
like
is absolutely crazy because the reason why we can't consume things the way we should be, the reason why we can't put more thought into our art and stuff is because we were never open about these things. So now when we're kind of thrown in here and like trying to write about these things, it's very hard. And like me, like I've told you 1,000 times, I'm trying to write this erotic drama. I do not know
yeah,
how to approach writing a sex scene. I have it in my head. I know how I want to shoot it, but I have no idea how to get there. And it's hard because, first of all, I'm not used to writing those type of scenes. And also, second of all, we weren't
yeah,
open in this household about it. It wasn't until like I started,
yeah.
experimenting with the movies I watched and I really started to consume different things that I'm like, oh crap. So I can only imagine how hard it is for you writing music, because there's probably more that goes into music than it goes into my end over here writing a script.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's it. It can't be that different. I feel like a song can't be that different than writing a scene.
Yeah,
I
probably
don't know.
not.
I mean, I've written like scripts here and there for like play ideas that I had,
Mm-hmm.
or like musicals, but never like what would it look like on screen.
Yeah,
I feel like that has to be very very detailed.
yeah,
And music, it's like it is very detailed, but it's not like all the responsibility usually falls on just me
mm-hmm. It's a
for
team
every
effort.
little detail.
It's a team
Like
effort.
usually I'll write
Mm-hmm.
the lyrics. I always write the lyrics, and then Andrew and I shared a lot of the lyric writing together until he left. So now it's like the lyric responsibility falls all on me.
Yeah.
But I write the lyrics and I write my own melodies.
Yeah.
And every now and then, like I wrote the United States of America on
Mm-hmm.
keyboard. I Won't Die I wrote with a friend. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. I think the United Shakes might be the only song that like I would say is fully my responsibility. Like every other song I had help on.
Yeah.
And then going in with the producer and having, the producer help cut it and edit it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like it can't be that far off
Yeah.
from writing a scene.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the, and I hate that I always bring myself up in these interviews because it's, it always should be about the guest. But I'll respond to what you're saying. Look, in my defense, all the shorts that I've been writing have always been on me by myself because I haven't paired up with somebody who I can write with. I have this little ritual for myself, and I don't know if you do the same thing. And I'll ask you if you do a ritual when you write your music. I go to a quiet place where I can be alone with my thoughts. Prior to this, I probably already have the idea of what I want to write about. I go over there. I open my laptop. I open my document. I get the format ready. I put on a movie score. Usually, it is Hans Zimmer's Interstellar soundtrack, and I lose myself in that because it's also helping me picture scenes with the score. And I write until I'm done. And that's where that fast-paced lifestyle comes in because I'll be done like 4 hours later. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't ate right. Like I should probably go do that.
You don't eat. You don't get up to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, if I could wear a diaper.
They always say that like, they always say that like the best creativity is almost like childlike play. Like how like children, when children are playing, they get so invested. They don't get up to go to the bathroom. You have to remind them, go to the bathroom. It's time to eat, or else they would just keep playing and playing. Like that's like the best type of creativity in my opinion.
You do anything similar like that? Do you have like yourself or like a ritual? Because I talked to Alex before. She's the graphic designer. She does the whole cabin thing where she does go in a silent place, turns off all the lights, designs.
I feel like for me, my best lyrics are usually almost I feel like I found like in a meditative sort of state of doing something else. Like chores. Like chores, driving, things where it's like kind of a repetitive motion that you just keep doing. That usually it'll be like one line will come up in my mind. Or something I'll hear someone speak something and I'll think, oh, that's kind of poetic, and then I'll like put my own twist on it, and then from there a whole song will come out. Sometimes when I'm like really really crunched and I don't know what to write about, I'll make like a list of other song topics that I've heard and try to like see how they fit into my own experience. But I feel like the whole like shutting down, this is my time to work, I definitely don't do enough of that. Because I almost expect just things to fall in my lap, which probably isn't helpful or like an inspired action. But I do meditate a lot, so I do have to say, like, I spend a lot of time in a blank state of mind and just listening and just hoping, that I'll get a message of some kind, whether it's from my subconscious or spirit or I don't know. Like, I don't really know where half my ideas come from. Like, it's almost just like, oh yeah. Like one time I heard someone use the word lifeblood in a sentence and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like a really strong word. And then I ended up writing a song like around that word in particular. I Won't Die. I can tell you I 100% wrote that song in a trance. Like I don't remember writing it. Like I remember the day it happened, where I was, what I was feeling before I wrote it, but like the actual like typing it into my laptop at the time, don't remember. Like,
you don't remember?
I remember going back to it and being like, I wrote that. Like I did that. I don't remember doing that. I feel like that's like I don't know if that happens to a lot of artists, but some of the work that I've done that I like the best kind of comes from that. I had one set of lyrics that I wrote recently that were very angry. I was very I guess this is a little personal. I got laid off from my old job back in February, and I had a lot of thoughts going on in my mind about capitalism and how I felt about, how corporations take advantage of the workers.
Mm.
And I know this is all sounding like so communist right now, but like it was just I was feeling very vulnerable at this point of being taken advantage of, and I wrote this like set of lyrics that almost like we're still trying to put music to it, but I swear the whole set of lyrics I dreamt in a dream, and then woke up and wrote down.
Yeah.
Like I had a dream that that my friend Amanda in Bad Mary and I were recording this song, that St. Vincent was the producer. Like this is just like wild. And the song was just like really punk and very like Rage Against the Machine inspired. Like
that's amazing.
I woke up and I wrote all those lyrics down.
Yeah.
And I was just like this was in my subconscious. This was just something that I had to say and didn't feel comfortable saying out loud otherwise.
Yeah. I understand.
For Party Favors, like that was one that I actually consciously wrote. For one of the very few times that I like sat there and said, okay, well, thinking of like some kind of like, tongue-in-cheek innuendos, like blow out the candles and like stuff like that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it like a little silly and try to have like a little bit of fun with it.
I understand where you're coming from, because my recent short that I'm doing, that I'm hopefully going to be shooting in July, it was a response from the dumbass in office tweeting that he wanted to shut down the border. And I was like, well, it turned my brain on. I'm like, there we go. So I come up with this idea of a love story where one person is from the other side of the border and the other one's from the other side, and the border will be closed down, and now they will be separated forever, so they have to find the best time to spend together and spend their last 24 hours. So, I get that feeling of, being, having these emotions, things going around, and you're like, okay, how can I put this on my art and I can fully invest myself and write something out of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that, that I always see you do. And, it's always, I follow you on all the social media. I see how, I hate saying that you're outspoken, because I feel like that's a term that's always placed on women. They're like, oh, they're loud, they're outspoken.
Yeah.
So I rather say that you're passionate about the things, because, they use that with men too.
For sure.
We're passionate,
For sure.
On my end, I'm passionate about my people. On your end, you're passionate about so many things.
I don't know if you believe in horoscopes.
Not really.
I'm an Aries. And like wholehearted, like fire. Like just, I feel like passion. Yeah. I feel like when I think about things in the world, things that are going on or things that I care about, or just how people get treated, like I get very passionate about it. For sure. And definitely what's going on in the news with immigration in particular, just from being a student when I was studying Spanish, and I really got to learn why people immigrate, why people leave their countries, how they get here. People who cross underground.
Oh yeah.
How dangerous that is. People coming through, like, it's terrifying. And it's like people like white people who are really entitled and think with their wallets before they think with their hearts. They say, people are coming here, they're stealing this, they're stealing that. It's like, not really. Like, like if you had something to run from, maybe you'd understand. Like,
exactly.
Like,
if your country was war torn, you'd understand. There's people don't really understand, and it sucks because not to get too political on here, but a lot of the problems that are happening in Latin America are because of U.S. intervention,
caused by the United States of America.
Because of U.S. intervention, and if you guys would just pick up a nice little history book, my friends, and you would look on those history books, you'd find out a lot of the things that happened over there were caused by the United States. And
exactly.
But one thing that I really appreciate about you is that you care about so many topics, but you don't reach over and you kind of take over the topic if it doesn't pertain to your current situation. So like, when I'm always bringing up about topics about the Latino culture, you are an ally. You're there to help, but you don't take over the situation and make it like, you're the one who knows
Because
and
I don't
knows about it.
understand.
No,
I
you
don't
don't.
understand. I wasn't there. But also, I try to look at things from the most human lens as I
Mm-hmm.
can, because I know I can't understand. I wasn't there, but
Mm-hmm.
fuck, like, these things really happen to people. You can't just pretend you didn't. Like,
Yeah.
it's documented. There's, people get sick crossing underground. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
come here and they're sick. Their bodies are injured. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
would somebody willingly do that to themselves without having a real reason? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and for white people to not understand that, it makes me so angry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
I don't mean to, like, again.
no, this is the
It's
show
it's
where
it's it's
everything
really
can be
weird.
brought
Just
up. Mm-hmm. No, this is the show where it all
where
comes
I
out.
feel like where I
Mm-hmm.
live is so weird, like, that way, because literally, like, all the cars around here, people have, like, their Blue Lives Matter stickers and,
Mm-hmm.
like, Trump flags, and
Mm-hmm.
it's terrifying because
Yeah.
there's so many people
Mm-hmm.
who are in the minority. They're not really the minority. They're the majority here. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like other people who just walk around with, the
Mm-hmm.
stickers on their cars,
Yeah.
and it makes me so sick.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it
sometimes,
really
like,
does.
if they would just listen to what the things that the other people have been through, and sadly the things that they've been seeing, and the things that have gone happening in their home country, they would understand just a little bit by just, like, getting a little bit of your head out of your ass, man, and just listen to what's going
Yeah.
on. You would understand a little bit, and leave your preconceived notions and stuff. But I'm you're a great ally, and I always point that out. There's not a lot of those out there. There's a lot that just do it for the clout. They do it to look good, or they have a white savior complex most of the time. And
Yeah.
you're one of the good ones. As bad as that sentence sounds, you're one of the good ones, because that could sound really bad when said about other things.
No.
But you're one of the good ones.
To be honest, I don't feel like I understand my privileges and my entitlements,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think there's that many people that would consider me this could come out wrong. I guess a powerful person. Like, I'm not coming from a state of exactly status. Like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
a white straight man. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah, we've
my
got you've got
voice
you've got
has
your
to be.
things.
I have to talk for the other people. If I don't, like, it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
the little. What's my privilege good for? Like,
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like if I have a privilege and I can't use it to help other people, then
Mm-hmm.
it's not really, like, it's just who's to help me. It doesn't really, like, I'm not really, and I don't have money. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
like, I just
And
have
if
white
you
skin.
don't
That's
speak
it.
out,
Like,
you're
so it's
not
like,
doing your
if
part.
someone will listen, then
Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't feel like you're doing your
I
part.
feel like,
This should
yeah,
always be a team effort, man. And it should be. We should be treating each other with the
yeah,
respect we deserve. We should be helping each other out. We should not be overreaching and crossing boundaries, but we should be helping each other the best way we can. And I feel like that's a little thing that people can learn, and that way they could be better at doing the things they do and not come off as the examples I showed. Like, what's it called? I give him a lot of shit, but Brad's a really good guy. When he told me we were talking about things at one point, he was like, I don't get these people being mad at immigrants. Like, I'm from the border, man. I've seen the stuff that's going on here. He goes, there ain't no
scary.
emergency. We live good over here. There ain't nothing wrong going in here. And he's like, if they would just see the things that are happening over there, they would understand why people come over here. We should be opening our arms and being good to them, instead of having to put them down. And it was like, hey, man, like, I was shocked. I was like, damn, Brad, you're the whitest motherfucker I know over here, bro. But you're out here speaking, you're out here speaking like this. I was like, damn, bro. But I give him a lot of shit for a
Yeah,
lot of things. But he's a good guy, and I was like, that's the way I view you. I'm like, you're a good one. You're a good one, and it really shows. And also it kind of helps that you spent a lot of your time over there in El Salvador, so you saw how sadly some people live over there, and
yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the gangs alone
Oh
is
yeah.
is enough of a reason to run, to want to run.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first my first trip there, I had a friend whose cousin stayed out too late and was murdered. by MS-13. Like,
Mm.
and like that was like within the first few days of me being there, and I had no, I didn't know what it was going to be like being there, and having like that experience of consoling my friend and seeing how her family, what they were going through from losing a family member. Like, it was just kind of like, like, how could you not be a human about that? Like, be like, oh, well, like Trump came to Long Island. He came to the town right next to mine where I grew up. I grew up in Bayshore. He came to Brentwood, where like most of the population that lives in Brentwood are from El Salvador. And, he gave some sort of, he spoke about MS-13, and it's just kind of like, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, you can't come into our town, like come into like this town where people live, where people have gotten away from this. They were there, they saw it themselves, and then you're gonna say shit about them. Like, just like
some people have lived a very coddled
so
life.
frustrating.
They've lived a very coddled
For
life
sure.
that they've never seen the other side. It's like, they're always like, it was so funny, man. Knowing how people were reacting to a tour that I did at what's it called? A lot of people wonder, like, how do you live over there, Raul? I'm like, well, you guys know what the barrio is, and they have this preconceived notion of how it looks, and I was like, that's how it is over here. And they probably think I'm poor and shit, but like, no, man, it's not poor and shit. Like, it's just, it's different. It's different. And
Yeah.
They have these things that, are built up by the things that were shown, by the things we listen to, by all these things, and it creates this notion of how these other people live. So, it's very, very different. But, when you unpack those things, and when you learn to take those things out, and you learn to listen, the important word right there, guys, listen to people. You listen to their struggles, you listen to the things that they've seen, you listen to and you get out of that little bubble that you live in, and you experience the other world outside of where you're at, because it takes a lot for us to realize that some of us have lived a very coddled life. We don't know what's out there. So when we see these things, then it starts to change our mindset, and then we start to realize shit is happening, and this shouldn't be ignored.
For sure.
And
I know for a fact, like, people that I'm related to, I've heard say the worst, most racist things. And I literally have to just be like, you don't understand what you're talking about. Like,
exactly.
I could hardly understand what I'm telling you from, like, and I'm saying, I've heard this, I've seen this. I feel like it's like people like spitting anecdotes at each other. And like, so it sucks because it feels like sometimes they just hear what they want to hear, and they don't really listen.
Yeah. And
but, I mean, I had a whole year of time after Trump was elected that I did not talk to my mother, and it was really hard. And like, I couldn't tell her because I'm not straight. Like, how I felt about Pence, as and the things that he's done against gay people and the LGBT community, and how that community of people were all feeling like our rights were endangered. And it was kind of like, you will not understand this. And like, I couldn't come out and tell my mom that because my mom doesn't know. Like, I'm so closeted to my family. So it's kind of like, I had a whole year of time where I was just like, I can't talk to you. And like, now if she tries to bring it up, like anything about any kind of politics, I'm just like, no. I don't talk politics or religion or the economy with my mom because I can't. Like, she literally thinks like everything she says, I'm just like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like,
God, that's so different from over here.
Mom is just always like, you're a liberal, blah, blah, blah.
So different from over liberal. Here. Every morning for breakfast, like, we're always talking about, the current situations, and, it's just a bunch of, like, 4 angry Latinos here at the table, like, this is wrong, this is stupid what they're doing, and, like, yeah, man.
You guys should be angry. You have every right to be angry.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, my mom gets angry about white people stuff, I'm just like,
come on, man.
Goodbye. Like,
man.
It's literally, I just put up a wall and just like, Jesus would not like this. That's just my reaction. I'm like, Jesus was brown by mom.
Oh man, this has been so much fun talking with you. And I got to get a little bit more questions in. I got like 2 more questions in here before we actually have to go.
Oh sure, I'm so sorry that I have not talked about enough music.
No, I don't care if you don't talk about music. This is an interview about you. And I'm pointing at my laptop screen, like if you can see me pointing at my laptop screen. Yeah, this is an interview about you. I want to get everything about you out here. So, what's it called? And one thing I do appreciate you. And this is the thing that I feel like connects us both, because I'm visually impaired and you have fibromyalgia. So we're two of the different, we belong to one community that we can both share, and we can talk about experiences in that. And having being disabled and being an artist gives you a different outlook as well. And do you get that when you do you use a little bit of that outlook when you write your music? Have you written about your disability yet?
I have not yet. I have a few sets of lyrics. Particularly, especially like I didn't start using a cane until about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had like severe joint pain, trouble walking, just slow movements because of it. Like, I haven't needed a mobility device until recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually kind of doing okay more recently, that I don't use it as much as I used to, which is great. But I've been just like standing at a concert. I can't handle the things
Mm-hmm.
that I used to be able to do. So I feel like I have a different connection to certain things in the past, especially "I Won't Die."
Mm-hmm.
When I first wrote that song, I was in a different place. And then as my life changes, I feel a different connection to it. Especially when it comes, to kind of figuring out, navigating things that I used to be able to do and now I can't. Or I can't do as
Mm-hmm.
much of. Or, having to stop myself. Because, I feel like when it comes to having, like, autoimmune illnesses, you're
Mm-hmm.
almost, like, lulled into this false, I can do it. I will
Mm-hmm.
be okay, because you have a day here, a day there where you are okay and you feel normal and you feel great. And
Mm-hmm.
then I have other days where, like, I have a hard time walking, or I'm in so much pain, or,
Yeah.
you know.
And sometimes your disability is visible and sometimes it's not. And that's the hard part as well. People will treat you
I'm sure
different.
you understand that.
Oh my God, yes. Oh yeah. People will never understand the pity looks. They will never understand that. And they'll never understand how hard those hit. Those are the ones like the pobrecito looks. Like, like, oh man, poor him. Or like,
I don't need that.
I don't need it,
what
man.
does that do for me?
Leave me the fuck alone. Like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, whatever.
Focus on yourself, man.
Yeah. And it sucks. But, I've tried in my realm over here of writing to talk about that, and I just can't budget. I haven't been able to do it. I can do it about the Latino experience. I can do that. I just have not gotten there with that. And it's something so interesting because you're older, of course, and that's in no way supposed to be an offensive. I only use that with Brad to make fun of his age. So I thought, maybe you.
I don't. How old is Brad? How old is Brad?
31, 32. I'm sorry.
He's only a year older. He's not that much older than me. I just turned 30.
Yeah, I think it's 32 or 33. I don't remember. Yeah, but when he first brought up the thing about him being old, he made it seem like he was like 60 or 70. So I was like, shut up, Brad. You're not that old. And he's like, well, yeah, I'm old, man. I'm like, shut up. You're like, so then, we made the joke constantly about him being from the 20s or something. And you're like,
yeah.
I think one time we said, I don't know what was happening, but I said that Brad was at the premiere of Jaws when it came out. And then another friend says, nah, he was at the premiere of Nosferatu in the 20s. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Oh, man. That's amazing. But I thought, you're older.
Oh, that's a bird.
Oh, it is. It is. Shout out to Julia. If you're listening to this, Julia, that was the greatest burn you've ever done to Brad. Or her calling him Aemon Targaryen from Game of Thrones, which is like the super, super, super old guy from Game of Thrones. So, that was funny too. But, I said, oh, you're older. And I said, maybe she's been able to do this. Maybe she can give a little bit of advice to us artists out there who have disabilities, who have been able to budge and, be able to write about their disability. Because some of us just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the only recent song we started working on a new song, and I kind of got the idea from it from sometimes when I was younger. I used to have a lot easier time speaking. But as I get older, and especially with fibromyalgia, like kind of sometimes I forget words, which it's almost the same feeling that I feel when I'm speaking Spanish, where I'm like, "Cómo se dice?" But it's that with English, where I'm just like, "This is the language I've been speaking my whole life," and I just suddenly I'll be talking and I'll be like, "What is the word for this?" Or someone will ask me a question and I just can't answer. Like, and it's kind of embarrassing, but it's like the whole like fibromyalgia fog, or like when my brain gets that way. Like, it's like I just started writing the song basically like, I wish there was a word for this, like trying to figure out like what's the word for this, like
yeah.
And that's like the song itself, like it ended up taking more of like I wish there was a word for this, I wish there was a word for that, and then I don't have the word for this, but I have a word for being grateful for, like, it ended up being about like Mike and I, and how like
Wait, Michelle, you still there? Oh crap, it froze. Alright guys, so technical difficulties here, but I will be back. Let me get a hold of my guest.
Of lyrics, especially like kind of being jealous of other people's abilities, because I used to be able to do a lot of stuff. I wrote a lot of lyrics about that at one point in time, but just none of it has actually turned into songs yet. But I think that for people who, especially if you're experiencing ableism, I feel like it is a great coping method to write it out, how you're feeling, and especially if you're angry about it.
Oh yeah, of course. Art is always a door for these things. It's always there to write out the things that hurt. I was telling you that I feel the same way. What's it called? The things that I see people do, like everybody's always complaining about driving, and I was like, man, if only I could do that. If only I could, be able to drive. And you guys are always talking about how much it sucks to drive. I'm like, hey, at least you guys got two good eyes that you can drive with. Some of us don't have that. But don't worry, I'm here. I'm at the last question here. I'm sorry that it cut out, guys, but we're back. But I'm at the last question.
Sorry about that.
Nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We've definitely gone really far in this interview, and I was like, I'm glad that this is the longest one that we're gonna be doing, because it wouldn't be anybody else where I want to go, an hour and like 10 minutes with. My mom's already screaming in the background. But look, what does the future hold for Michelle and Megawave? What are you doing? Anything you're working on? Music-wise?
We just finished recording a new song. It's pretty much done. I think the next thing that's going to be happening is we'll be filming a music video for it.
Ooh.
And the song is about a really like basic kind of topic. I don't know if basic is the right word, but it's about Mercury retrograde. So I kind of would like to possibly put out a music video in time for the next Mercury retrograde, which is in July, or September is the one after that. So that will probably be the next thing that comes up. We have a few gigs going on here in New York. That's pretty much it. We're working on writing and getting back into the studio, and especially now that we lost one of the primary songwriters besides myself, and now Mike is in the band. It's kind of like we're just reinventing that sound. That trying to figure out what direction we're going next.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. I'm sorry, everybody. My mom came in the room, and you're gonna hear her. So sorry, guys. And that's. I'm gonna be moving this setup soon. But yeah, that's awesome, and you have all that stuff going on, and really, really excited to see what the future brings for Megawave and for you. But I want to thank everybody for listening to this. As always, you can leave your rate and review on your podcast app of choice. It really does help the feed grow, and it shows me that you're liking this show. And as always, you can follow the Nerdcore on Twitter at the Nerdcore _, Instagram at the Nerdcore, Facebook page the Nerdcore Pods, or you can do what Michelle does, and she joined the Nerdverse, the official Nerdcore group, our Facebook group. We talk about a lot of cool things in there.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to the group.
Of course. Join it by going to www.facebook.com/groups/the Nerdcore, CORPS. You can also help support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/the Nerdcore. You don't have to be a $100 tier member, or 10 or 15. You can be a $1 tier member. And, we are gracious for all our Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome, so shout out to all of you. But especially our executive producers of this podcast. Grayson Barker, who you can follow on Twitter at WarlordHitman98. Grayson Barker98 on Instagram. Our other friend, Shane, our executive producer, Shane. You can follow him on Twitter at XSRRKK Twitch. And then you can watch him play video games on twitch.tv/XSRK. And then our third executive producer, Journey, go and follow her on Twitter at IcedMocha_Jorn, JOURN. Thank you to our executive producers. You guys make this show happen. And especially thank you to our sponsors, Anchor, for sponsoring this podcast and all the other shows on this podcast feed. So thank you so much for being on, some people. And as always, you can go and show some love and just listen to these episodes, because this show will continue going on if you guys keep loving it as much as you've been loving it. Michelle, can you let the people know where they can find you in the internet?
Yes, you can follow us on Twitter at Megawave Band, or on Instagram at Megawave Makes Music. We're also on Spotify as Megawave or Mega Weapon, and the same for Apple Music and Bandcamp.
Awesome. The artist formerly known
as
Mega Weapon.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Oh my God, I'm glad that this finally happened. I have another part of this interview I would like to hit, but I would talk to you about that later, because I haven't announced it yet, so we can't really do this yet. But once everything is announced,
okay,
we'll be doing something for the Patreon section. So thank you to everybody who's listening. Thank you to my wonderful guest, and I will see you guys on the next episode. I don't know who's going to be on it, but I guess that's the whole surprise of this show. You'd never know who comes on. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you to my wonderful guest for being on here. And remember, the file is closed, but not classified. We'll see you guys on the next one.